Well, right now, the EU Trade Commissioner, Maroš Šefčovič, is in the building behind me on the phone with the U.S. Trade Representative, Jameson Greer. At least that's what was expected. This phone call was previously planned. They were supposed to be discussing the concessions offer that came from the EU earlier this week. It was an 11-page document with lots of concessions, including commitments to buy American energy, liquefied natural gas, LNG, commitments to let American companies install 5G and 6G networks here in Europe, also commitments to cooperate with the U.S. against China on issues like steel, aluminium, and cars. However, the FT reported this morning that the Trump administration did not like that list of concessions because they were all about cooperation. They were all about ways that the U.S. and the EU could cooperate in the future. And what they want is unilateral concessions, essentially gifts to the Trump administration in exchange for not being tariffed. So it appears that that's where this announcement from Trump came in the last couple hours. Certainly it's meant to put pressure on Šefčovič in this phone call that was already supposed to take place. But talking to experts here today, they don't really see this as a credible threat. We've already seen the U.S. stock markets tank today in response to this news, and we saw what happened previously, how Trump reacted to that. He caved in and stepped away from the tariffs. I think I'm reading here in Brussels, that's the expectation about what's going to happen this time. But also this threatened June 1st deadline, that's a week away. That's next Sunday. There is no conceivable way that the EU could, in a matter of a couple of days, be able to come with a whole raft of unilateral concessions. That's just not the way the EU works. So there isn't really even any feasible way that Trump could get what he's asking for here. Nevertheless, this could be a maximalist position, as the U.S. Trade Secretary was saying, to try to put pressure on Šefčovič. But the thing is, he is working on a negotiating mandate that comes from the individual EU governments. He really can't go beyond that. And so he just doesn't have the authority to completely cave in right now in response to what really seems like extortion attempts.
So this takes us back, doesn't it, I think, to what we've seen before, the playbook of the Trump, the wild man theory, that he can say anything at any time and he can do anything at any time, to which extent we've seen. I've also seen, to what you've just said, in line with that, Dave, Aslak Berg, the Centre of European Reform, saying this: it's not an announcement, it's not an executive order, this is about increasing leverage, about being unpredictable. Essentially, the message to European leaders, he said right now, is keep calm, carry on.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly, the intent here is designed to spark fear here in Brussels. Everyone behind me should be running around with their hair on fire, according to the Trump administration's plans. But however, I can tell you, they're really clearly not. In the conversations that I've had with national government representatives, with people from the EU institutions, there is not panic here in Brussels. They simply don't believe that this is a credible threat and that this will actually happen on June 1st. Now, let's see what happens in the readout after this call tonight. If the EU suddenly caved in and started offering lots of things, I highly doubt that is what is happening right now. So we just have to wait and see, I think, because there's really no way that the EU can give the U.S. what it wants. It's not even clear what the U.S. wants. As everyone has said, it's not clear what the U.S. demands are. So we will have to wait and see until next Sunday if the U.S. would go ahead with this 50% tariffs. By the way, that's way more than the 20% that was originally threatened and then walked back from on Liberation Day. For the moment, people in Brussels just do not believe that this threat is credible.
Dave, great to talk to you, as always. Dave Keating, our correspondent in Brussels.